Good evening and welcome to The Mind Behind Leadership here live on talkradio.nyc, live from New York City. But I'm live from Sydney in Australia. Second week in quarantine. Anyone listening last week, think about all the things that you've done. And I've been in the same room. So connections been top of mind. I've got Ginger laughing already. So connections been top of mind for me. Now, in the last year, it's been really strange. We've got the technology to connect. We're using it now, whether it be on Facebook Live, visual, where you're listening to it through the podcast. But that's not always enough. What we're going to do this evening or this morning for me is explore why it's so important, what happens when we don't have it, and the magic that comes when we do it properly. Never so much have I craved proper connection with people. We were just talking off air, there's a likelihood I'm going to run around Sydney hugging everybody I meet tomorrow when I get out. I'm really delighted that we have this evening Ginger Johnson. Now, Ginger, let's just give a bit of a background here. Ginger's a connection expert. And Ginger organises and runs communities, facilitates a series of masterclasses, and is a professional dinner party host. I think I got that right. Ginger also has the Connectors Academy. Now, a couple of things jumped out when I was doing a little bit of research for this. A quote here, let's listen to this one. As a species, we crave connection. As creatures, we require connection to build the lives and careers and various undertakings that we endeavour. So we'll maybe dig into that one a little bit later. Also, Ginger makes a bold statement. There's a direct link with leadership. Connectors are leaders. Ginger is also the author of 3 books, which rather intriguingly, 2 of which have beer in the title. Ginger, good evening.
Good morning, Graham.
Good morning for me. You do know I'm going to slip into that every now and again. I'm going to say good morning. Got the sunlight from Darling Harbour splitting through the curtains, the drapes. Ginger, I normally kind of start off just trying to get a little bit of background, but there's something that jumped out. I've got to ask you. One of your books is called How to Market Beer to Women. Don't Sell Me a Pink Hammer. Why? Give us a background to that.
Graham, we're going to make some great cookies one of these days between Graham and Ginger. The book came about because I was studying this previous business, studying why more women didn't enjoy beer. And when I was in my hardware years, working retail hardware, every Christmas we would get these toolkits. And you can see by the expression on my face, or maybe you can hear my voice if you can't see my face, like, these toolkits. So patronizing, so crappily made. It's really technical for really poorly made. And we're trying to pawn something off on a population that is just being insulted and being lessened. Like, why does the color have anything to do with the quality? It doesn't. There's no such thing as gender in color. We like to equate, you know this, Graham, like we as a species, we like to have dots to connect. Oh, it's pink, it's female, it's blue, it's male. That's as ridiculous as saying, Graham, you like pasta because you're a man and I prefer rice because I'm a woman. That's just flat out stupid. So the Don't Sell Me a Pink Hammer, my editor actually wanted that to be the first part instead of the subtitle. And it certainly gets people's attention. Look, we're talking about it now. So the whole concept is don't connect the wrong dots.
Something about pink then. There's something about pink that seems to trigger. Would that be fair?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So having the art background that I do, I did some digging into why pink has been equated for female, not actually feminine, but female. That's a whole other conversation for another show. But the idea of pink as a color, like what is that? So I dug into my color theory and my art history background and so forth. And I found out, Graham, that those favorite pink shirts you like to wear, still own it, brother, because pink, has nothing to do with gender. Let's make perfectly clear. And pink is actually a derivation of red, which I am wearing today. Yeah. And that red color has stalwartly been seen as a color of great energy, very intense energy, passion, fire. And we equate red with things that are really lighting us up. And so pink was originally the color of males, the color of strength when we trotted all our men out to, bye honey, go out into the battlefield and get, lose your arm today kind of thing. So the pink came from that. And in fact, to go even a little deeper, at one time, the halo around the baby Jesus in art, first of all, it was only legal to idolatrize in artworks for millennia, only religious icons. And the background was always blue. That was actually the color of strength and not red. And so it's a really interesting kind of meandering bunch of tributaries that we're choosing which ones do we want to paddle down. But pink is such a great color, but I chose to steer away from it because there was so much equation and misequation. Now, if you're Barbie, if you're Susan G. Komen, if you're Pepto-Bismol, like, that's your color. That's great.
Yep.
But if it's not, then don't pander. It doesn't matter what color it is. If you're not truly green energy, don't use the green color. Don't call yourself green energy. Anyway, so thanks for hitting that hot button, Graham.
You hit it well. There was complete control there. Let's look at the more positive aspect then. Market beer to women. Why beer? What's the thing? You're an aficionado. Is this your thing?
Not anymore. No, and it was never about what kind of beer women enjoyed, Graham, or drank. There's a difference between enjoyment and drinking. Huge difference. I'm a word nerd. There's a difference between quarantine and isolation. True? Yes.
At the moment, no. No, absolutely, yes, there is. Yes, absolutely. Yes. I've not been isolated.
Right.
I've been
right. There's a difference between tourism and traveling. There's a difference between eating and feeding. There's like all kinds of differences in words. And I saw that there was a big difference in what was going on. And I realized, like, I wanted to know why fully the majority of our species wasn't engaging. What was that about? That was the question that drove that business. It was really a marketing company. And I ended up doing a lot of qualitative research. I still have proprietary research that nobody else has done. And I really wanted to know, like, what was underneath that. And so, for the record, I do know what kind of beer women like. And it's not what anybody really thinks. If somebody wants to know, they're going to have to reach out to me individually. It's not what I focus on anymore. But what it informed, Graham, was how to ask better questions, how to think about something, how to look at something from literally face value, and then say, what's really going on here? And what can we learn from that? What is the connection? What is the disconnection? How do we improve? How do we grow? How do we learn to best address the different elements of life, different people in life?
So it sounds like you're looking at connection at lots of different levels. Most people that I speak to when we talk about connections, they kind of talk about how two humans interact with each other, how they kind of find that common ground, and maybe in groups as well as maybe just not two individuals. It looks like you're looking for connections at all different levels, whether it be words, whether it be colors, whether it be, is that fair?
Oh, it's totally fair. It's not just fair, like, bring it to the table, because when we are looking at life, it is not the one-dimensional cobweb, Graham, right? That's beautiful with the drops on it. But the one that's in the corner, like up there in the corner, that's all looking like a ball of cotton, that's called life. We want it to be the one-dimensional. Oh, look, we can figure this out. No, that's not life. That's Disney. So what we want to look for is that sticky cobweb, as I call it. And like, how do we unfurl that? How do we get into that? How does the spider navigate it? Life is so amazingly fascinating, Graham. And I want to help people. I work with companies, leaders, teams to look at what are all these connections? What's going on? Let's deconstruct it like a big bunch of Legos are on the floor. And then let's put it together how we want to put it together. Because everything's possible. It's not a glib saying for me. I believe that. And everything in life we do and think and want is powered by some sort of connection, some dot A to dot B or Z or double Q, whatever it is. And that's what's so interesting. So yes, I'm looking at it very multidimensionally, for sure.
So that sounds to me that innovation, creativity, etc., are an absolute must, because we're looking. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that phrase, but we're looking in different places that we would not normally find either the connection or the understanding of it, or what's really being said.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And to the word that just came out, one of the words that just came out of your mouth was normal. Like, the first zinger I'm going to give people: get rid of that word. Get rid of that word. Replace it with reality, current reality, something like that. When we're looking at connecting truly and deeply with ourselves first, because I look at it as a 3-part monogram. It's self, team, community. You decide what your team is. You decide what your community is. I mean, some people say, well, my community is my clients. Okay, fine. My team is my family. Okay, fine. Whatever. It all starts with the center of your own Big Bang, and that's you. You're your own sun, right? And then what ripples out, what radiates, and then how do you navigate that? And it is profoundly meaningful on the words we use and what we are really trying to communicate. And now I don't want people to listen to this, Graham, and think, oh, now I'm paralyzed. Now I'm afraid to say anything or type anything or respond. Yeah. No, don't. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is being truly thoughtful of what might that word mean? What might that connection yield? What do I think I want to give? Because connecting is a boomerang. We've got to throw it out there with intention that it's doing good in the world, and it will come back in some way, shape, or form. But when people, like, I don't like the word failure either, Graham, because I feel like people are romanticizing that and thinking that that's a badge of honor. I don't agree with that. Failure is if you don't try. Right? Yoda doesn't like the word failure either. You either do or you don't. So, yeah.
I'm going to bore you just for a moment, and I'm going to apologize, but I've got to get this off my chest. I was actually running a program. Yeah. By the end of the hour, you're going to say you did really well in boring me. I was running a program with BMW yesterday from here, so I was connecting. I was connecting virtually, and one of the stories that came up was just what you mentioned, was Lego. And this is one of those, everybody kind of knows about the stories about Blockbusters and Kodak and all these companies that didn't innovate, didn't look to connect. I think there's a lot in connection there, just look to stay in their own world, and it failing. Lego was failing in the late 90s. And they changed it. And one of the ways that they changed it was by getting small teams together, getting small communities, getting them to be innovative, getting them to drive and change that they could control themselves. And, you know, without boring the long story, we look at some of the platforms that are up and running, like Google and everything. And I found a photograph yesterday that I'd taken in Google 2 years ago, and I was working in the office down at Chelsea. And Google, they encourage their employees to use Lego as a way of being creative and connecting with each other. So we've got Lego models everywhere. We've got a plastic brick, which has been around forever. All of a sudden is the thing that's actually helping people create now. Sometimes, I told you it was boring, but I just find it really interesting that a company that was almost failing just empowered their teams, empowered individuals to go away and just be creative, find a different way of doing things. How can you work together, and how can you bring people into this? And by doing that, they turned it around really, really quickly. It's probably one of the biggest unknown stories, and regarded as one of the greatest corporate turnarounds ever.
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, because what you're doing is you're giving people a level playing field. There's very little opportunity in life where that is true. It is true equity. Here, everybody gets the brick. Everybody. Everybody has a way that they think they can use it. So that's brilliant. It makes perfect sense. Like, start with the granular level. Don't dumb it down. Bring it down. Like, start with something that's everybody can work with, think about, manipulate, participate in.
And I think the big thing there is sometimes if people were forced, the new CEOs, one of his first quotes was, "We're on a burning platform. We're not going to survive this. Therefore, let's try something different." And all of a sudden it worked. Look, we're going to go for a break. When we come back, I want to know how you came from what you did. You mentioned hardware, you mentioned an art background, and how did you come from there to do what you're doing now, and kind of the real practical aspects of how it works in the commercial world. You're listening to The Mind Behind Leadership. We have Ginger Johnson on here live on talkradio.nyc. We'll be back after these.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant. And on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you interested in having a better relationship with yourself, others, and God? Greetings. I'm your host, Dr. George Andow, for the show A Journey Through into Awareness. On my show, we journey into the awareness that the mind of God is the true seat of our personal consciousness. We join together each Monday at 7 p.m., so tune in on Talk Radio NYC.
Did you know that nearly 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. battles mental illness? Hi, my name is Albert Daba. I'm the host of the show Extra Innings. Extra Innings, I discuss the topics of wellness, mental health, and the experience of surviving multiple suicides within my family. Listen live every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern to Extra Innings for discussions with sports figures, artists, mental health professionals, and many others. That's Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Graham Dobbin. Join me every Thursday evening for the Mind Behind Leadership here on talkradio.nyc. We speak to people from business, sport, military and politics, all around what makes a great leader. The personal experiences of what's worked and, maybe more importantly, what hasn't worked. So that's 7 o'clock every Thursday evening, the Mind Behind Leadership here on talkradio.nyc. Listen to real stories of real leaders.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
You're listening to the Mind Behind Leadership live on talkradio.nyc. We're going to have a dance competition for guests, Ginger. And I think you would be number one for dancing to the theme tune.
If I need to come to Sydney to do this,
you mentioned, and I'm going to have to thank you. I don't know if you realise this. You mentioned that connecting is a boomerang. Thank you very much for mentioning that when I'm sitting in Australia. Talk to me. You mentioned earlier that you sold hardware.
I did.
How do you go from selling hardware, sometimes pink, to having the Connectors Academy, being a professional dinner party host?
Wow. There's even one step before that too. I taught middle school, Graham, and you're welcome. But that's not for everybody. I got into hardware. It's a whole inception story that I often start my keynotes with. The brief story is I went in with a broken rake handle and I walked out with a job. And hardware is such a connecting point, Graham, because people come into a hardware store. There's 5 names for everything, and they're trying to connect their own dots to make something work in their life. It's so powerful. So that picture hanger thing, that's not about the picture. It's about them looking at a loved one or a scene that makes them feel good. It's a connection point. And then I was a firefighter actually. I bread store, all kinds of different things. And what I've realized, Graham, and what I have in my connectivity can in my book, is that education is my golden thread. I would challenge everybody who's listening right now at any point to think, what has been that continuous thread throughout your life? What ties all these experiences together? What is the connecting tissue? And it's education for me. So hardware, helping people live the lives they want to live, fixing their snow blowers, helping them with their plumbing, whatever it is. Bread store, getting people something that fits their diet, their desire, their taste buds. Middle school, helping kids who sometimes are never seen realize that they're worth it and that they're amazing. And there's doesn't have to be these pretexts and labels. And with women in beer, it was the connection of, there was a disconnect, and I wanted to figure out where was the plug, where was the receptacle. And now with human connection, I love this so much, Graham, because it ties everything together. And I consider the shift to your original inception of this question, don't worry, I'll get there, is that I started turning a super tanker. Like, think about your life as a super tanker. As you look into Darling Harbor, there's some large ships out there, I would bet. Those don't turn like my Jeep Wrangler. They're not a skateboard. You don't flip it and go the other way in a big hurry. Your life is a big construct. It doesn't mean that you can't turn it, but it means that when you are truly thinking about what are you deeply connected with, what would you like to be connected with, who, why, all these big, great questions, I call the Pro 7, those who, what, why, where, how, and which, then I look at it as a super tanker, Graham, and we shift. And the radius is definite, but sometimes it's slower movement than we either want. Sometimes it's faster than we want. If I think about it that way, I'm a very visual thinker, clearly. I like that analogy, because when we give ourselves time, grace, and space to really think about something, like, is that going to be a good thing for me? Not to perfection. That's a fool's errand. It's a participation level. Just like when you moved to New York, you're like, okay, yeah, we liked it. There was a whole bunch of things that fit. There's always going to be stuff that doesn't fit and that doesn't connect, but don't dwell on that unless it's truly significant. And if it is, then you shouldn't be there to begin with. But turning that super tanker for me was how I shifted to human connection. And I realized, Graham, the second I realized that was my thing, I knew it intuitively. Like, oh yeah, this is what it is. And then I realized, as a business person, like probably a lot of people listening, like, how do I then build my life around that? My business is a lifestyle business. I want to live the life I want to live. I love my work. I love my business. So turning that super tanker, okay, we got a different planes coming on to the landing deck. And what does that look like? I don't know if planes land on super tankers, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm mixing my metaphors.
I'm sure this happened.
Right, again. Yeah, it's got to happen. Somebody's got to land somewhere. The seagulls at a minimum. And if you think about your life that way and think, what do I really want to be connected with? Then turn your super tanker till you reach that compass point and go. That's what it's been for me.
I'm potentially going to be a little bit controversial here.
Please.
Not a Ginger controversial, a Graham controversial. This could be seen as fluffy. This could be seen as kind of out there when you take it into business, or you're asking business people, because you mentioned business people, and you take it into commercial when we're working with teams, etc. How do you get the awareness of people to access this point?
So glad you asked this, Graham. For the record, y'all, listen up. This is
y'all. I love it.
Y'all. All y'all.
This is getting serious. This has just got serious.
I know, right? My hair has gone on the sides of my head. Oh, it's gone anyway. These skills, human connection, communication, interpersonal, they are not soft skills. Please expunge that. I'm going to ask you nicely once. Expunge that from your vernacular. They are the hardest skills. They are the ones that teams and leaders, CEOs, directors, volunteer coordinators, parents, all of us, they are the ones we value the most. So if I ask one thing of you, precious listener, get rid of the idea permanently, once and for all, flush it down whatever toilet is closest. There is no such thing as soft skills. That's BS. I'm not going to swear because it's Sam's radio show program, but I think that is a huge misservice. And connection has so much to do with words and language, Graham. And that is one of the things that I love to blow out of the sky with a double barrel shotgun, because once we start categorizing skills, we are on a downward slope into the muck that we don't want to be in. What we want to do is think, what are the skills overall? Interpersonal skills, technical skills, mechanical skills, mathematics skills, communication skills, like put them all on the deck of that super tanker. So I love that you brought this up. And a lot of people are like, but it's a soft skill. I'm like, no, bullshit. There, I said it. Okay. It's not a soft skill. It's one of the hardest ones. So how do you like essentially sell this? Well, first of all, I don't sell. If people either want to work with me or they don't. I'm value-based. And if I'm their person, great. It's not about hourly. It's not about, well, what will my team get? You know what? The students will get what the students activate. Like part of my growth model is an activation section. And you got to ignite yourself. You got to activate your skills, learn those skills, find those skills, seek them out, integrate them, practice them, get better at them, continue to ask for help. And then what you do is you excel. So these human connection skills are fundamental. They are essential. And they're so much fun when you start thinking about what's possible. So that's the powder keg.
But what is
Part
possible?
of it.
This may be like a ridiculously huge question, but can you give us some examples of what you've seen when people actually get it? When they just get it, when you're working with them, they go, bang, now I've got it. What changes? What happens?
Yes, I will absolutely do that. So imagine yourself in a room full of colleagues, Graham. You've maybe met some of these people, maybe you haven't. You're sitting at a table, pretty conventional pre-COVID, conference, breakout room, business meeting, sales session, whatever it is. And somebody comes in and has the audacity to say, why are you really here? Like, big Y, capital W. And for the first time in your life, something, it's like the velvet 2x4, as I call it. It slaps you upside the head and you think, holy buckets, why am I here? Why is my butt on this chair at Tuesday at 10:08 p.m. and I'm still in this meeting? Why am I here? You better have a good answer for yourself, because if you know why you're there to do your level best. You're there because you love this team. You're there because this work moves you, because who you serve changes the world. Like whatever your because is, if you don't know your why, your alignment of being where you're at, I'm going to give you so much love and saying, go figure it out. Find somebody. That's what I help a lot of teams and leaders figure out. What are your values and your vision? And is that in alignment with what your execution is, quite frankly? Like if you don't know that, you have an ineffective team. You have people who don't want to be there. They do halfway work, if anything. And maybe it's the leader, maybe it's a team member, doesn't matter. Some of us have been in that position. And we're like, my heart's not really in it. That saying, listen to that. When you hear somebody say that, pay attention. There's a look to that. They're not all in. They show up late. They call it, all kinds of things. Your teams do your best work. Our teams do our best work. When we're on a team, we do our best work. When we truly feel connected, Graham, I know you know this. For anybody listening, if you've got somebody on your team who is not truly connected, now is the time to go to them and say, look, I love you. I support you. You need to find something else. I can tell this isn't a fit. That's going to do one of two things. They're either that person is going to holy bucket, somebody finally sees me. Maybe there's a reset, or, finally, somebody's given me the permission that I wanted to give myself to go and find a better connection. So tell me if there's anything soft about that.
No, it's interesting. Look, we're going to go to a break in a moment. I actually find it quite interesting that I'm regularly in business, and I've seen it so many times. It's happened to me as well, that we get on that wheel. We're in the meetings, we're doing all these different things, and then something happens with the business or the job goes, and you're let go. And it's happened to me before. Mm-hmm. And the initial is the panic of not being there, and then it's the release. Because my guess is we didn't actually know why we were there in the first place. It was kind of just as a functional part of what we do. When we come back from the break, I just want to dig into this why a little bit more, because there's a lot of talk about why now. I'm curious about where people go when you ask that question, because I've got my own theory to it about where people go. Do they do it for themselves or for others? And then how do we get that connection? You're listening to Talk Radio. .nyc, the mind behind leadership. We're live here with Ginger Johnson, and we're going deep after the break.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Do you run or are ready to open your own business? Hi, I'm Jeremiah Fox. I've been operating and opening small business for the last 25 years, and I'm the host of the new show, The Entrepreneurial Web. Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern Time for insights and stories on the nuances of running small business right here on Fridays at noon, talkradio.nyc.
I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Wise Content Creates Wealth. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Friday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 2. They say content is king. Well, wise content rules the world. Every episode features tools and tips for content marketing and business people telling the wise content stories of that success. Tune in every Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to the mind behind leadership. Ginger is raising the bar with dancing. I am not. It's too early in the morning for me.
You got that great hat, though. I like that hat. That hat.
You like the hat?
I like that hat. I like
the Crocodile Dundee hat. Yeah. I've got it next to my Yankees hat as well, which is just really my New York Yankees hat. So. The question we've said before. The big question, the why with a capital W. Why am I here? I'm curious, where do people normally go when they're asked that question in your experience? Mm-hmm. Where do they normally go? What kind of answers do we get?
It's a really magical experience, Graham, when somebody truly lets themselves be open and willing to think about their why, to discover their why, to have somebody, to let somebody in, frankly, to let them think about their why. Dozens of people have cried in the rooms when I have brought that exercise up because they are so, it's not because I'm stepping on their toe or making them feel bad. All of a sudden it's this release of, oh my gosh, it's the goosebumps, it's the shoulder drops, and it's the feeling that finally, however old they are, in their early 20s, late 70s, anything in between, any make, model, color, size, shape, whatever, that they're given a space to say, oh my gosh, now is the moment I'm going to think about this. Because the alternative of not thinking about it, Graham, not being cognizant to this precious life that's either really short or really long, whichever way you slice it, like it's totally in your control. You're in command of your life. You are at the wheel of that super tanker and you get to decide. So what happens, the reactions are there's a lot of very visceral emotion. There are, I can see the light bulbs metaphorically going off and people are looking and their eyes are big because you can get the bubble above their head. You can put in, whatever you want to put in. Some people still remain unwilling. still going to love them up anyway. They're not willing to go there because it is moving. And think about it. Here's a perfect scenario. Say you're a 6-figure C-suite executive and you get challenged by this question. You're thinking, no, I've got my own mouth to feed, perhaps others. I like my lifestyle. I like my this, I like my that. So then in air quotes, we said, I have a good job, or I have a good life. I'm okay. Really? Okay. I'm going to still love them up again. Yet I'm thinking that's truly unfortunate that we're not willing to let ourselves grow and change. Nothing in life stays the same. And instead of thinking of change as change, Graham, I like to call it growth. Because if you're the CEO and I'm one of your minions and you say, okay, people, we're going to have a change model. I'm like, take a flying leap there, old leader, as opposed to you say, we're going to do some growth work. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to be more receptive to that. I want to grow, or at least I think I want to let you know that I feel like I want to grow. It's mindset again, right? So I'm willing to wade in there. We'll see how much it takes. The reactions are very broad ranging. The vast majority of people who recognize that it's truly a safe space that I'm giving them will go ahead and start rethinking. And then the after effects. Oh my gosh, Graham, if I could show you some of the comments that people email me or text me or send me in cards and notes, like, wow, that change, I'd never thought about it that way. That was a sea change. Like, that's what I'm focusing on now. Thank you so much. And I'm thinking, first of all, I'm super grateful that they make that gesture, because it's important that we know that our work matters. And hearing one of those people speak up speaks volumes for all the others, that they have chosen to grow and change in the space that we have given them. It's incredibly powerful.
I'm wondering, I mean, I've asked this question before. Why are you here? That type of thing. It always surprises me how many people go to a reason for other people rather than themselves. They talk about others rather than what's the personal reason. Is that something you've experienced?
It is. Why do you think that is, Graham?
I don't know. I'm asking the questions here. It's my show. One of them, I think sometimes it's actually easier to serve others than serve ourselves. I think it's sometimes easier to think about others and kind of we get a slight pleasure out of that rather than look after ourselves first. The old adage of put your own oxygen mask on first. But I genuinely think we're brought around to, we're here to do things for others, or my job is to look after the kids or family or a dog or a pet. We've got and that's what it feels like for me. That's kind of almost the easy answer, because then I don't need to go deep. I don't really need to consider whether it's right for me.
That is the gold, brother, right there. It's, I'm not ready to do the self-discovery. I'm not willing to do the self-discovery. It's easier, it's quicker, it's faster. I can answer and they can move along to somebody else. I also believe that we have conditioned ourselves to think that we have to put others in front of ourselves. And I absolutely disagree with that, because there's no way that we can take care of other people unless we take care of ourselves first. And the biggest part of that is acknowledging where we are at personally. First of all, like, how many people resent years of their life? We're lucky if it's weeks or months. Like, you're in a job you don't like, you're in a marriage, you're in a whatever you don't like. Guess what? You're in control of that. You get to make that choice. But sometimes we pull the martyr card, or we think, oh, well, I'll just stick it out, or it'll get better, or we justify it. We don't. And when we do that, we haven't truly looked at the core of what drives us forward. So please, dear listener, when you feel like you have to put somebody else first, don't. You'll get to them, but you've got to take care of yourself first. Years ago, I saw a woman she was senior VP of McDonald's, and she was on a panel. I spoke at the National Restaurant Association several years back, and she was on this panel with a couple other luminaries. And she said, look, I'm going to say something that's not real popular, but I'm going to say it because this is who I am and this is what I believe. I'm first, and then my family, and then my customers. And so for parents, there's an expectation that you would put your kid first. And I actually find it very refreshing, Graham, when people say, actually, I'm going to go first because I'm going to put my helmet on before I help the helmet. It's the classic oxygen mask dropping, right? You literally can't help other people well. You can muddle through it, you can suffer through it, but really nobody wants to hang out with you if you're going to be a sufferer and a martyr and a complainer. And then that's where you start getting ulcers and bad sleep patterns. Like, it manifests in so many ways. So it's so much better and wiser and healthier and safer, well-being, mental, emotional, spiritual, everything, to say, look, I'm going to reconcile. I'm going to wrestle this dragon first. And frankly, Graham, it's smoother. I won't say it's easier. It's not as hard as people think it is, because, and there's a couple keys to that. It's really a simplistic process if you're willing to do it. I'm not saying that everything is easy, but easy is different than simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I one of the things I talk about is we need to allow ourselves to be appropriately selfish. Just be appropriately selfish. It doesn't mean because we've got that slight selfishness about it, it doesn't mean it's against anybody else.
Exactly.
If we do it the right way,
yes,
then everybody's going to benefit. Coming to looking after ourselves, you mentioned earlier that your business model was about being value based. So you kind of you evaluate, is this going to work? Is this the kind of thing that I want? I'm getting from what you said, is this the type of project I want to work with? Are these the type of people I want to work with? Am I going to get some fulfillment out of that? I'm going to make a huge assumption here. To me, that takes a lot of confidence. You don't sell. It just takes a lot of confidence in yourself, in your abilities, and that if this doesn't come around, another opportunity will. How did you build that? If I'm right, and it is, how did you get to that point that you didn't have to chase the next piece of business?
That's a good Pandora's box, my friend. I am really fortunate. I had a incredibly solid upbringing, and that is not everything as an adult. It is something. And even if you haven't had a good upbringing, you can reconcile that and you can move past that. So I know that that's a bedrock for me. And to be fully just transparent to the audience, like, my relationships with my family now are completely different. I'm not saying they're bad or anything, that they are completely different. Some of them are not as I wish they were. But I'm saying that I came from something that was solid, and I was able to have a really strong self-worth, and I've maintained that. And the relationships I focused on and putting the energy and the connections I've built and the disconnections that I've made have been focused on, look, I got one of me, and there's billions of others. How am I going to do my level best in this moment with what I know, as well as tapping into other people I trust, not the people who are going to say yes to me, but the people who I trust are going to say, listen, Johnson, that idea, that's, crazy batshit, like, change it or think about that. Like, I'm going to listen to the people who care about me, just like I'm going to be there for them. So the confidence is a skill, to wrap this up. Confidence is a skill. And when we exercise that muscle, it gets stronger. And when we have the right training, it gets stronger and stronger. So pretty soon it's unshakable. I'm not arrogant. I'm confident. Those two are different things. And strength is that golden thread in there. Like, I want to be strong because I want to serve. I love to serve. That's, as you know, too, that's magnetic. On a business side, when people see somebody who's confident, like, wow, I want to work with them, because what they want is that positive energy. They want that to come around. They want to soak that up and absorb that. Like, I want some of that because I want to be vibing on that level. Wow.
We're going deep tonight.
We're speaking with Ginger Johnson. We got a lot to cram in here.
We're speaking with Ginger Johnson. You're listening to The Mind Behind Leadership. We're live on talkradio.nyc. And we're going to go to a break at the moment. We're just going to, quick question again on confidence when we come back, just about why is it, you mentioned the word arrogance, why is it seen sometimes as being arrogant? What's people's fear about someone else being confident? And I want to explore this dinner party that you do. Because you came up when we spoke off air, you came up with this great analogy about that table that we sit at and the difference when it's professional and not. My name's Graham Dobbin. We'll be right back after these.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Are you a small business trying to navigate the COVID-19 related employment laws? Hello, I'm Eric Sauber, employment law business law attorney and host of the new radio show, Employment Law Today. On my show, we'll have guests to discuss the common employment law challenges business owners are facing during these trying times. Tune in on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Howdy, I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Gateway to the Smokies. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 7. Every episode is dedicated to memorable experiences in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and surrounding areas. This show features experts and locals who expound upon the richness of culture, history, and adventure that awaits you in the Smokies. Tune in every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 on talkradio.nyc.
Do you love or are you intrigued about New York City and its neighborhoods? I'm Jeff Goodman, host of Rediscovering New York, a weekly show that showcases New York's history and its extraordinary neighborhoods. Every Tuesday live at 7 p.m., we focus on a particular neighborhood and explore its history, its vibe, its feel, and its energy. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
You're listening to the Mind Behind Leadership live here on talkradio.nyc. One of the things we talked about, emotional control. You know that moment when you're looking at the screen, you're about to come live on air and your computer says, I'm about to restart. That's called emotional control. Wow. We spoke about confidence before, and you mentioned the word arrogance. Why do we think confidence is seen as arrogance at times? And I'll just kind of a side issue to that is it feels like people are scared of others, you know, who are confident. What's that about?
Yeah, it's confidence is a magnet, and as you know, a magnet has two poles, and people both want. Some people want to be pulled in, some people want to run away. And so I find that people who, for example, are not my people, and I still, again, I'm going to love them up all the same, I'm not their people. And I'm totally good with that. That's a lesson for everybody who's listening. Don't force people who aren't your people. Don't try to lead people who don't want to be led, because there's something going on for them. They're scared, they're threatened, they're not ready, they're not willing. Willingness is way more powerful than readiness. Willingness is a mindset. Readiness is like, that's the someday trap. So I find that people are like, I had somebody, this is interesting, I've never shared this story before. You heard it here on Talk
It's only
Radio.
us. Don't you worry about it. It's just us.
I was accused of being a bully one time in an email by somebody I met at a conference after party. And what this person described was like, wow, it was so interesting. And at the end of this very long email, the person said, by the way, don't contact me. And I just thought that was so interesting, Graham, because I thought, okay, you wanted to vent, fine. You're also not willing to connect and have a conversation. So there was clearly a threat that this person perceived. And I'm not lessening, I'm not invalidating, you know, that person's emotions and feelings and reactions, that's that person's. It was totally unexpected. I remember it totally different. So when we say there's two sides to every story, if there's two people, there sure as heck is. If there's more people, you're talking about the Rubik's Cube. And not everybody wants to solve that Rubik's Cube. Not everybody wants to walk into that and say, I want to figure this out. In fact, very few people are willing to even be interested in figuring it out. That's where confidence can be a repellent, because somebody sees somebody's confidence, they might misinterpret it. It's like volume, or people saying extroverts. Oh, extroverts can do anything. Like, that's BS. Like, and first of all, don't vert yourself. Don't label. That's not helpful. We don't need more labels, titles. We like to label, describe things. No, you're not. So there's so much to that, clearly, as you can tell. I'm rambling a little bit, but the arrogance is definitely repellent. When I go into a doctor's office, they say, are you allergic to anything? And I say, arrogance. And it always gets a laugh because everyone's like, oh yeah, that's funny. It's true. Like, I don't
I'm stealing that one.
Right ahead.
I'll give you credit the first time I use it.
When we go overboard and we think we're the expert, like, there's no such thing as somebody who knows it all. We literally cannot know it all. That should never be our goal, frankly. Let's think about, what else can I learn about something? Think about it that way instead. How can I up my connection skills? How can I be a better radio host? How can I build something better with Legos? What's one more thing I can do for BMW? You know, whatever it is, incremental compounds. That's the power of connection. That's the power of humanity. That's the power of everything. When we back up and say, I'm going to be confident in moving in one step at a time. It's like the Winter Warlock in Rudolph's Shiny New Year. It's one foot in front of the other. I could sing that too, but I'm going to save that for another time. That's what we want to aim for. Arrogance is the person who butts in, who interrupts. They've got different concerns going on and issues that they need to address also, but they're often not ready or willing. Yeah.
I want to get to this because we've probably got about 5 or 6 minutes left. I want to get to this, your dinner party, being a professional dinner party host.
Ooh,
you said something the first time we ever spoke. You said something to me about kind of this table.
Yeah.
Which absolutely struck me. Talk to me about where it came from, what happens.
Oh, so imagine there's this beautiful table in front of you, and it's not fussy. It's Martha worthy, but it's not Buckingham Palace. And you walk into this room, maybe it's a theater, maybe it's a room, and you're there to partake. You're not quite sure where the experience is, Graham. You just know that when you see that table and there's one set for you, there's a chair waiting for you, you anticipate belonging. As humans, we are hungry for connection. And the table is both my metaphor and my literal prop, if you will, Graham. Like, I do professionally host completely singular experiences that center around a dinner party. And what it does, I'll just jump right to the outcome. The whole purpose of it is to form deep professional relationships. It is not talking about the weather or sports or anything like that that's topical. It's about saying, tell me one thing that you're aiming, what's one goal in your life that nobody else knows about? Like, whoa, we just dropped down 3 levels into me. Like, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's the magic. That's actually what we're all craving. But for some reason, we stay at the tips of the waves. Life happens underneath the surface of the water. Put your scuba gear on, people. That dinner table, because someday, Graham, you and I and Sam and a whole bunch of other people are going to be around that table. We're going to have the dinner party, and we're going to have this experience, right? And it's not about the food and beverage. Serve beans and weenies, don't vacuum. That's not the point. Your corporation, like, get your directors together, say thank you, acknowledge your donors, call in the volunteers, your board, your retreats, whatever it is. It's such a nimble thing because we all have to eat and drink. When we profoundly intend, when our intention is so strong, Graham, that this time at the table, something different's going to happen. It's going to be magic. And you walk away from that evening thinking, God, I am going to remember this the rest of my life. That's the power of connection. It is possible for everybody. Not everybody knows how to do it. That's why I offer it as an actual service. I want to help teams do their best work, and they do their best work when they feel truly deeply connected. And these don't have to be people who know each other when they come into the room. I foster that. I facilitate that in a very unformal, unobviously orchestrated way. It's like, oh, the elves are at work. But, just sit down and let me anticipate. And I've literally hosted hundreds of dinner parties myself. So I know what works and what doesn't work. I know what to bring up, what to avoid. I know how to circumnavigate the conversation hog. I know how to bring out the person who's really quiet. It's magic.
you choose who's going to be in the room, or do you just take whoever wants to be in the room?
Couple different formats. It just depends. Like, what do you want? So there's a great CVB I'm working with, a major American city. They want to bring their stakeholders there. They know who they want. So I'm their partner in putting these together and facilitating and making them hum. If you want to like open up the doors, that's a totally different dynamic. I can orchestrate that as well, because then there's different guidance that's needed, different topics and so forth.
It's really clear. We hear the passion that you've got for this, which kind of makes all the difference. Ginger, we're kind of running out of time. I'm really disappointed that we're running out of time. Not that we chatted, that we're running out of time. I'm going to tell you what the kind of stuff that I've taken from tonight is the sticky cobwebs. Definitely a connecting is a boomerang. One thing that we've not come back to, you mentioned don't ignite, activate. Ooh. So there've been some real gems tonight, and that confidence is a skill. It is. That's kind of logical. It's logical, but it's not, it's, I hear people saying, you've given me confidence. And every time I say that, they say that to me, I can't give you anything. I've not done this. I cannot give you it. You've got to find it. You found it somewhere with the connections that we've done. Ginger, thank you so much for taking the time. I feel that there could possibly be a Ginger and Graham part 2 to this. that might just come along because we've got so much to talk about. Thank you to once again to the magnificent Sam Leibovitz in the background, who pulls all this together. It's Thursday night. It's The Mind Behind Leadership is live on talkradio.nyc, and we'll be back next week at 7 o'clock with a new thought and new ideas around leadership. Thank you again to Ginger Johnson. Take care. Good night.